Welcome back. Now, for review real quick, I want to go over the fact that there are many layers of meaning projected onto the appearances in our lives. We can see this all over the place. A forest means something very different to someone raised in a city versus someone who was raised in it. So instead of worrying about what to do with this, we can just cut out all the mess and go straight to the root. Go straight for the essence of the thing. Now, what this is, going straight for the root and going to the essence, this is the horizontal path of empowerment, the path of discipline, the path of tapas, the path of applied will. Now, the vertical path of self-realization, of taking an airplane from New York to LA instead of walking one step at a time, of directing your focus of your attention to realize quantum leaps in your everyday consciousness. This is not what this series is about. It's not about this. This series is about applying your perspectives and beliefs and points of view, about reframing your way of seeing yourself and your life through the principles in these videos to empower you to move forward one step at a time, to polish the mirror of yourself so as to shine ever brighter. This is the horizontal path. And there is no real need to run because you have, after all the time in the world. You can afford to let lessons come as they will. You need not seek out catalysts. The world offers more than enough on its own terms. You don't need to wait. Life will come knocking at your door. You don't need workshops. You don't need to systematize any sort of self-development. You don't need to meditate so-and-so hours in a day unless it feels relevant. All you have to do, all you must do, the only thing to do is to attend to yourself moment by moment and live quite naturally in accordance with the Tao, with the flow, with the course of events. So one final principle or mechanism that can greatly assist in this is the active recognition of one's emotional guidance computer. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into this a little bit, but I'll briefly mention it. I'll go into much more of the mechanics in the horizontal path, that book. I'll link it in the description below. So during the asana sequence, you'll have noticed little tensions, little kinks getting ironed out. And these small adjustments along the way are each of them signals, a small bit of past trauma that you could consider being released. Now, if you're aware of the more subtle interactions going on, you will also have noticed some emotional charge coloring up in the intellectual process. And in a very real experiential sense, you can pay attention to your emotions in real time while engaging with the circumstances and situations and relationships and conversations and objects and plans and hopes and dreams and all these appearances in your life. You can still pay attention to your emotional makeup and you're in a sense splitting your awareness. You're operating in both of these levels simultaneously. All of these things that appear, that arise and pass away, they come with an emotional charge. You are always feeling something. And this emotional charge is generated by the friction of your perceptions of your reality, your beliefs about the way things are, and what actually is, what reality actually is. So these two things come into conflict. This generates an emotion, depending on your definitions, your beliefs, the way you've described and labeled and identified what's going on. That spark, that emotional spark, will be experienced as a different emotion depending on your beliefs. Energy is just energy, and this emotional charge is filtered through layers of our perception. Let's say I fail out of school. I didn't want to go to that school. I'm going to be totally relieved. I wanted to go to that school. I get kicked out. I'm going to hate things. And the only difference is my perception about what's going on. So by paying attention to how you feel in the moment, you can recognize, let's say, little tensions, frustrations, consciously choose to realign your perspectives in such a way that you clear up negative definitions and limiting beliefs. And this is the source of conditioning, of our psycho-emotional and cultural conditioning. This is a bit of an advanced teaching, but again, I wanted to mention it before this series is finished, because it's where the asana practice really begins to bridge the gap between time on the mat and time off the mat. That mechanism now, you're making it directly applicable through recognizing your emotional experience. By listening to your emotional guidance system, while practicing with asanas, redefining the little surges of trauma, all these little triggers of limiting beliefs that stem from your conditioning. This allows you to make straight the crooked, so to speak, to bring together the opposites and and let yourself experience true effortless and true lasting flow, rather than seeking to earn it through climbing ropes or climbing rocks and diving deep in the sea. You don't need to earn it. It's there for you. So genuine and active application of the emotional guidance system allows you to continually refine and constantly self-adjust any sort of nested belief systems. It's just how it works. The increased self-awareness is just the start. If you can shift your perspectives on events and emotions to see only life-affirming, freedom-based points of view, if you can shift your points of view on different circumstances to see only abundance, only infinity, only free will, only love, only endless, immortal consciousness, and that the sky is the limit or just the beginning, then you can always come back into alignment, into your center of being. It's always there for you, and you can recognize any sort of distortion from that central line of your being. And from that center of being, you will feel powerful. You will feel inseparable from creation once again. You will feel like you belong to the all that isness that you actually are, and you will feel that there is nothing out of reach, and that everything is possible. Now, the most common mistake that I see is that yogic circles generally refer to the things as like a practice. Your yoga practice is about getting on the mat, about doing the work, about putting the time in. As if the number of minutes that you meditate or do a pose has anything at all to do with how happy you are going to be. Get real. Care for yourself a little bit more than to simply assume that something as small as a schedule can keep you down. It's just an idea. You don't need to listen to that idea. You can if you want. Practice. If practice is for a performance, the grand arena of life is the performance. And the best way to learn is by learning while you live. That's in fact the only true way to learn. So align yourself with abundance and away from the ideas of lack. Relinquish your allegiance to suffering so that we can all collectively follow your lead and mimic your example. And then through the amplification that you send out by being rooted in your center of alignment, your center of gravity, your center of being, and by exuding only the abundance, only the faith, only the knowingness that you have fully embraced, only the confidence, you can step forward with utter conviction, with empowerment, more and more every day, because you care about your life after all, and you care about being, about existence, about yourself, about others. You care about what is going on in the world. You truly care instead of just thinking that you care, and others will care. They will notice unconsciously at first, and then consciously. They will see the example that you have set by your courage, by your dedication, by your discipline, by your strength, by your power, by your willingness to care, to truly be aligned to yourself. And that would be enough homework. That's the homework of life. So what we're going to do is sort of ease into that by witnessing and accepting. So observe the patterns in the world around you, and understand that because you perceive this particular pattern, this form, it's something with which you are therefore personally familiar. So this person's mad at you. You know what it's like to be mad. So if you see someone getting upset over something, it's because you know what it looks like. Maybe in your own life, but this is your translation of it. You do it. You know what it looks like. You do it too. So simply accept it. You notice that someone's being a dick in traffic. Just know that you know what it's like because you do it. So accept it. Observe the emotional impulse you experience as a result of this pattern recognition. Accept the emotional impulse as reflective of the belief structures that you have assumed, and ask yourself, hey, dive into the nature of that belief. Like, what do I have to believe in order to feel this way? So tune into your emotional body, into your emotional experience, and use that as a sort of signal to identify that you have some sort of limiting belief in there. Adopt a point of view that is more in alignment with who you truly are. You can recognize things for what they are, truly, as they actually are, independent of assumptions, independent of projections. And during the course of your day, just try and make a mental note of when you feel bad, and inquire within to the associations that you have made. Notice the effects when you change your perspective to be in alignment. Notice the expansive and the freeing feeling of it when, hey, I'm a little bit more aligned with reality. And the homework for this lesson is simply to observe yourself in everyday life. Every time you suffer, every time you feel, then you got to feel good about that recognition, reinforce it, recognize the aha moment, and then using whatever permission slips are available to you, whatever works, whether it's just smiling and breathing deeply, maybe just taking a break and getting some water. It could be calling your girlfriend, doesn't matter. Any permission slip at all, whatever is going to make you feel better, do it. Just do it real quick, and then notice that you have adopted a certain point of view on the situation. So you feel bad, then feel better. Get a little bit of elevation, and then start taking a look at the belief, inquiring, and then simply adopt a new point of view to make yourself feel better. Constantly choose your emotional experience, and then establish awareness of this dynamic so you can start to naturally gravitate towards a truly aligned center of being. Select states of being that are in accordance with the results of the person that you want to be. You have to make this real for yourself. You have to believe it. You have to demonstrate it to yourself repeatedly at first. That this is actually how simple life is. It's not complicated. It's so simple. It's so simple. All you have to do is pay attention to how you feel. And all need for strategy, quite simply, slips away. Beliefs generate your reality. If you want to believe it really is highly complicated and difficult and painful and utterly necessary to grow, or else something bad is going to happen, it will be that way for you. But if you want it to be as simple and undeniable as your own experience in the moment, it will be that way for you. And these beliefs are entirely up to your control, as long as you make them conscious. So again, keep observing the process that is already happening on a daily basis, but now with this newly found awareness that there's only really one spectrum of emotion, positive and negative. There's only one emotional spectrum. And your emotions only really have, one purpose, to let you know whether or not you're in or out of alignment, whether you're seeing things closely and cleanly and purely for what they are. And then 2, pay attention to your emotional body's responses in everyday life through your thoughts and definitions. So be resolved and be truly committed to recognizing any sort of distortion. And it's not a bad thing. Hey, cool, you're being able to truly align yourself, to clarify your lens of your perception. We'll get more into specifics. I'll get more into the specifics in the horizontal path and how to experiment and try out what ways of seeing life actually bring you back into the sense of connection, abundance, and the truth of your reality. There's all these tools and mechanisms, a bunch of different perspectives, but these are just slightly different ways of looking at the same thing. So whenever you are paying attention to where you're in, out of alignment, and you notice how you label and define events, whenever you notice the types of thoughts, the types of commitment and resolve, the types of attitudes that you've adopted, and the types of beliefs and perspectives that you have on life, the way in which you are viewing your reality, then you can select new definitions. Through which you can perceive your experience, and thereby completely eliminate and sidestep all suffering altogether. So, my friend, I ask you to actually care about your life, which you already are, and simply notice that you can take advantage of those things that are already going on in this little emotional spectrum, tuning into your emotional body. And then, my friend, you can use that as a signal to identify new belief systems, or to adopt new belief systems that, maybe are a little bit more life-affirming. They make you feel better. Because if you have a choice between feeling good and feeling bad, why would you choose to feel bad? Yeah, we continue to do that all day, every day. So, thank you very much for caring about your life. I invite you to start actually paying attention to your emotional experience directly in the moment to moment. And in this way, you can start clarifying the lens of your perception, start actually feeling good, feeling truly epic, and having that be more and more your baseline. And in so doing, consciously direct yourself to be more in alignment with reality, as opposed to arguing with yourself and your own experience every step of the way. Don't focus so much on all the things that are going wrong. Focus on what's going right. Focus on the good. Focus on the right. Focus on the true. Focus on the effortless. Focus on yourself. Focus on the fact that you exist, rather than on all the appearances that arise within the space of your awareness of it. So, my friend, thank you very much. Have a beautiful, happy day. I love you. And I hope you can truly enjoy this process of transformation.